Hey, Desperate Housewives super fans.
Miss us? Do you remember what we look like?
Do you remember what we look like? Do you remember what we sound like? Do you remember that that you listen to this podcast?
I'm still drinking cocoa.
Yeah, and my apartment's still here. So
Some
that's all
things never
that
change.
matters. Some things never change. Yeah,
Is that a song?
it's from Frozen 2.
Oh, I, no, Christy, because seriously, when you were gone, I adopted that Hannah-ism. Like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
stop doing it. I've been
I
doing
can't
it
stop
at
doing
work.
it either. It's so fun.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I
I
forgot we're not
think
allowed to laugh.
I think that I have started doing it more than she does. And especially because this last time that I was there, like she had to work a couple of days. So I was like kind of the de facto Hannah. Like it was just me and Kevin hanging out.
I love
And
that you and Kevin, I love that you've become best friends now.
I really want I have I have like so much I need to talk about, like expeditiously.
I know, I can't believe I haven't seen you. Desperate Housewives super fans. Um, Summer was, we didn't record, we should have recorded, but we were going to record her from my
We tried.
apartment in LA while I was in New York. So basically, I guess this won't be my moment of desperation, but the reason is why we have not been recording. We were only going to take like 3 weeks off, like just a little Christmas break. And then, while I was on my way to New York City, my plan was drive to New York, see Gypsy, fly back to LA. I was supposed to be in New York for 36 hours essentially. That turned into 2 weeks because as I'm on my way to Los Angeles, the Pacific Palisades fire erupts. And I was like, I'm not going back, babes. Like, I'm not going to go there until that's over. But Summer had an acting job, and I was like, anybody else, I would be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't go. But I knew Summer is crazy enough to go into Los Angeles while it was burning. So if something had happened to her, I wouldn't have felt bad. Because I just needed my stuff. I have a lot of collectibles in my apartment.
You sure
Um,
do.
I I even looked around. I was like, oh my God, why didn't I tell you to take um, my exclusive Jonas Brothers and Taylor Swift guitar picks?
Oh my God.
My
I'm
like
glad you didn't remember.
my thing from Disney, 100 Years. Like there's so many other things. Like God, if it had been me, this entire apartment would have been packed up. Anyway, yeah, so I sent Summer to get my things. Anybody else I would have been like, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't go. Like don't go." But I said, "No, here's my keys. Please go to Los Angeles." So then I finally got back after Summer had been back and we did cross over again one day, but
I think the funniest aspect of this is that I've never been in Los Angeles without you from 2021 onward. And it was like very bizarre not having you there.
it was just so funny. Like we switched lives for a bit.
Yeah. And I had such an amazing time doing my acting gig. It was a vertical drama for those who I'm sure everybody is familiar by now, but basically when you're like scrolling TikTok or what have you, and you see those really overdramatic, insanely written little short 1 minute videos. I did one of those and it was really, really fun. But I was so apprehensive flying into what was described to me as a war zone. So I'm flying into Burbank Airport and I see two big smoke clouds. And I thought, is that fire? Is it not fire? But the rest of the sky was
You spoke
perfect.
for
Listen, you. I I saved your damn Barbies, okay? So, like, I have deduced because the rest of the sky is perfectly clear that, in fact, yes, they were clouds of smoke from the fires. And I get off the plane and I'm like hit with this acrid scent, and like, you're just filled with dread. Then I get to the valley where it's paradise. Everything is untouched. So like, I know Hannah was having a little bit of survivor's guilt, but I'm having survivor's, what's the opposite of guilt? Like survivor's thrill. I'm having survivor's thrill. I'm very glad that we have no issues. And for those who don't know, I decided for this trip to rent a car. So I
Oh,
could,
yes. I'm so excited to hear about this.
yeah, so I could drive myself to and from the shoot location, which was like 40-ish minutes from Hannah without traffic. So at the airport, I go to get my rental car and I start freaking out because I'm like, what if they don't rent me a car? What if they just refuse and I already paid for it?
Why
That
would
didn't
they do
happen.
that?
Because I thought like, well, I don't have insurance and like maybe they'll see I'm a fraud. My mom was like very adamant that I should not rent a car. She's like, you don't drive very much. Okay, but that's because you won't let me drive your car. So I get there and I'm chatting with the lovely lady. I'm like fully prepared to compliment her eyebrows or whatever it's going to take to get her to rent me the car, even though, like I said, I've already paid for it.
She was simply like not thinking about not renting you the car, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was never an issue. The thing that really gets me, Christy, is that until I was on my second flight, I had not decided to book the rental car. So I booked it on my layover in Denver. And then I was like, okay, I'm really doing this. I'm really doing this. So, the car rental process is actually quite smooth. I use the car for a couple days. And when I go to return it at Burbank Airport, it has the one lane that you drive through to return your... She knows where this is going. So...
I heard this from Hannah.
Yep. So, listeners, it's really not all that confusing until you get to the part where you have to actually enter the parking lot to bring the car back. So, I pull up to, the little toll booth thing, and there's like a yellow platform on the ground with like big spikes sticking out of it. And there's a big, big sign that says, warning, severe damage, do not back up. And I'm thinking, okay, I can't back up, but I can't go forward because there are literal spikes on the ground. I'll mess up the tires and I'll damage the car. Sorry if you can hear my radiator in the background. It's gonna drive me nuts. It's all part of the ambiance. So I'm sitting there freaking out, having a panic attack, a Zack attack, whatever you'd like to call it. And I call up Hannah and I'm like, Hannah, I don't know what to do. There's spikes in front of me. She's right behind me, mind you, in her car. And I did not realize that she was the car behind me. Like I knew she followed me, but I didn't know if somebody cut in. And for some reason I have like short-term memory loss when it comes to what people's cars look like. So I couldn't pick it out of a lineup, truly. So people are starting to honk behind me because I'm like waiting there. I'm frozen with fear about rolling over these spikes. And then I'm like, Hannah, what do I do? What do I do? And I hear a guy on the other end say something to her. And she goes, oh, the guy said you can just go right through, like go over the spikes. And I was like, really? Okay. So I drive over them. And lo and behold, the spikes go down into the ground when you go forward. There's no sign indicating that, first of all.
Can you say what the guy said to her?
I'm getting there, don't worry. So I return the car. Again, seamless process. They could not have made this any easier for me. I get into Hannah's car, and I learn that while Hannah was sitting in her car behind me, and everybody's waiting for me to go, and they're honking their horns at me and inducing my anxiety even more, the man that I heard on the other end of the phone came up to her. She rolled down her window, and he said, "Hey, can you just go around this idiot?" And Hannah said, "Actually, that idiot is my friend."
That's not an idiot. That's my friend.
I mean, there was no, like, she didn't fight him on his choice of noun, but it was just like plain and simple. Actually, that idiot is my friend. So we laughed about that for like a solid 10 minutes. I will wrap up here by saying several days later, I get a call from my mom that Blanche has the runs, and she's freaking out, and she doesn't know what to do. I'm in California, so I had to just wait until I got home to take care of her. I thought maybe she was just stressed about me being gone, but I've been gone for longer periods of time. So I had to bring her to the vet on Wednesday. And poor thing is wearing a cone of shame, and I have to manually apply ointment to her it's scientifically the perianal region. I know. And poor thing. I mean, I feel so bad for her. And cut to today when I just received the wrong food delivery order. So it's
Wait,
just
did
been...
she get her little fruit cone?
It hasn't come in yet. I think it comes in tomorrow.
Okay, good.
But she's going to be a donut.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, a little pink donut with sprinkles.
Well, that actually, that's a whole other moment of desperation. I don't think the listeners want to hear about my cat having the runs again.
No.
Like, cut over that. But wow, that's so funny. Hannah sent me a voice memo. I think it was in our group chat, and I was just cackling because I can envision that so perfectly. Because my thing is, like, I don't like it when drivers are behind you being so aggressive. But that's when, like, you're in a left turning lane or you're driving slow. But when it's just you're in the correct lane, like, they're not going to damage your wheel. I kind of understand their frustration.
But there was no sign indicative of, you can go forward or, like, please keep moving forward. When I see spikes on the ground, I think it's a trick so that the rental car company can upcharge me and say, now you owe us $10,000 in damages. And I didn't buy the insurance.
You didn't get the insurance?
No, it was expensive.
Betty and I once, when we were out here, we were under 25 and we rented a car because we were under AAA. Like, we put her under my dad's AAA so we could get a car under 25. And we got, like, the cheapest car possible and said no insurance. We're in a tiny little Toyota Yaris. And the guy was like, are you really going to drive around Los Angeles with no insurance? And she goes, you're just trying to scam me. We're not getting it. So she's, like, driving, like, white knuckles the whole time. Because, like, now you've driven in LA, you can see how, like, it's actually terrifying.
It's intense. I was only fearful on my way back from the airport, and that's because fear had been instilled in me. But going to and from the shoot, I felt absolutely fine.
Did you take you took the freeways too and you were fine?
But that's where I felt more comfortable, just taking, like, the little side streets would make me more anxious. The freeway was, like, pretty open. There was virtually no traffic.
Oh, okay. Well, you probably got it at a good time because nobody was going anywhere. Because that's different. Obviously, like, I don't like the freeway. I will take the side streets anytime. Same, like, with the canyons. Like, I hate the freeway, love the canyons, but a lot of people are the opposite. So.
Yeah, I didn't love going up the canyon or going down the canyon. I definitely went down. I don't know if I went up. I think I did.
No, I prefer it because I just don't like merging, and and I don't mind windy roads because I learned to drive on that, so like that's fine.
The lady at the thrifty car rental at Burbank Airport was so kind, and like I don't know why I ever thought she was gonna deny me a car, but I had made a joke to her at the end, like after I had signed all the papers, where I was like, "Oh, don't tell my mother I'm doing this," and she was like, "Why not?" And I was like, "Oh, she doesn't want me to rent a car," and she was like, um.
I was in New York, obviously, and at first I was really mad about it because I was really just ready to come back. But then after, so I think the peak was I was out with you and Liz, and as we're out having a really good time, I check watch duty, and the Palisades fire had simply jumped really far towards my apartment. I was like, this is nothing good, guys. This was the night before Summer left, so it was like blazing. And I'm seeing it's like going over Brentwood. It just didn't look good. And my dad, who was in accident insurance, assured me, he's like, you're in the valley, you're in the flats. There's no way it's gonna get to you. Like, there's mountains and mountains and mountains. Like, you're fine. Here's the thing, you guys. And this is something my parents didn't even know. I don't know if I said this to you when we were at the bar. But when I was a child, I had like a rational fear that my house was gonna burn down. I don't know why. I think it's because we had like a faulty fire alarm, so the fire alarm kept going off like the first few nights we were living in our house. But
Oh.
I have vivid memories of like me being in like Little Women on Broadway. And in the middle of the show, I'm like, oh my God, my apartment's literally on fire right now. Like, my apartment's burning down. So, anytime I would leave my home, I would assume that it was burning down. So, imagine I'm at Gypsy on Broadway, and I open my phone and I get all these texts saying evacuate Hollywood Hills fire. Like, this was my irrational childhood fear come to light. Like, it was not good. So I think that's why I had like a really like averse reaction to it, because I was like, and at some point that just kind of went away. But it just like trot up a lot. But other than that, I was having a great time. I saw, especially once like the flame actually died down, which I think you left Saturday. I think by like Sunday, the flame was out. So after like we were in the clear, I was like having a great time. I got
Yeah.
to see the top three Broadway musicals. I was like, these are the musicals. Because right now, guys, I'm in my Broadway era. I have to stop saying era. I'm in my Broadway chapter.
I
And
like
yeah, I've been
that.
trying to use the word chapter instead of era. So I'm like obsessed with Broadway right now. I just watched Smash. Rewatch. I have a lot of opinions.
We're now a Smash podcast.
So I saw Gypsy, Death Becomes Her, and Sunset Boulevard. And then yeah, so I was just having fun in New York City. And when I was with you, I canceled my flight. I was like, I'm staying here. I'm indefinitely. And then I rebooked my flight because I was like, well, that simply can't happen. But
Can I
then
just say,
yes.
a few moments ago when you talked about how you were in Little Women on Broadway and you were like worried about the fire, I genuinely thought you meant you were in Little Women on Broadway, and I was so confused.
Imagine I
And
dropped that lore. Oh yeah, I was a child star on Broadway.
well,
But do you
because
not
then
know?
then I'm going, wait, was she having a dream that she was at like in Little Women? And like I think it's just because you said in Little Women, and I thought in the show.
Well, I should have been. Imagine this in this 10 years of friendship. I'm like, no, I was on Broadway in Little Women.
Oh man.
I didn't want to tell anybody at Marymount because I didn't want them to be jealous. But
And you
you
know
know,
they would have been.
yes, like I was on Broadway as a kid. That's how I know Nick Jonas. You know what? I'm gonna start saying that now. That's gonna be my new lie to tell.
We're going to lie. Wait, we never did our intro.
Oh,
It's
it's
fine.
okay. They get it. They know where they are. Um, So then the day comes where TikTok goes down. And here I am being like, no one mourns the wicked. Like, kill the witch. Because I hate TikTok, but I'm addicted to it. So I was like, I want it to burn. I want it to burn. I want it to burn. So it goes down.
The slippery
And
slope.
14 hours later, it comes back with the message, thanks, President Trump. And when I tell you, guys, like, I think I'm one of Donald Trump's top haters. Like, he has a lot, but I think I'm in the top 10. I, like, if one day it becomes illegal to hate Donald Trump, put me in jail. Like, I'm serious. I will gladly go to the slammer for hating Donald Trump.
We
So
know.
if you're here to find me, listen to the Mustard Sky. Like, I don't care. He's in Los Angeles right now. Yeah, it just made me mad. So I was like, I'm deleting this stupid app. I hate Trump. And then after a few hours, I was like, okay, I'm like, well, I want to go back on TikTok. Then it's not in the App Store. And I said, oh. So now I actually I actually like can't go back on TikTok. And I feel free, but also I feel like I was definitely addicted to this app where I like kind of miss like the dopamine hit of just scrolling, but I don't actually miss what I was seeing on that platform because I wasn't interested in anything.
Sure. I get
Like
that.
there's no interesting content on there. I don't care about any of the people, but I just want to scroll. But I know eventually this feeling will go away. But I kind of like I can see clearly now the rain is gone. And hopefully if TikTok does come back in the US App Store, my addiction will be away and I will have no like I wouldn't want to download it because like there was a world before TikTok.
And there will be a world after it, and I think your only option at this point is to never ever open up the App Store ever again.
I know. You know what? I did have good times with TikTok. I think TikTok was at its peak when it was like pandemic and that was everybody's sense of
Yeah.
community because we were all like together. But since then it's just kind of gotten bad and I think now like knowing narcissist Donald Trump, the deal he probably made was I don't want to see any anti-Trump on that platform. And I've already seen screenshots of like people can't search like a lot of pro-Trump propaganda is being pushed on there.
Oh wow.
And I think that's scary because the same thing's already happening with Twitter, which is a website I can't leave. That was another one when we thought it was going down. I was like, yes, I'm going to be free. I will state right now on January 24th, 2025, 5:52 p.m. PST. I believe that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Like, and I think I was put on this earth to defeat it. Tell me why on New Year's Eve, the Capitol building, the Empire State Building, and I think it was the White House, all struck by lightning.
What? That is so spooky. Well, yeah, I know the state of the world is a little scary, but there is something about this year, about 2025, that is feeling very exciting and auspicious on a personal, individual level. Like, I get the sense that individually, we're going to be doing a lot of like leveling up this year. And maybe that will be reflected in the socio-political landscape. But whether it does or not, I genuinely feel like something good is coming for us personally.
I think that this is going to bring a lot, like just the way that all of Los Angeles has come together about this and has raised so much money has been amazing. And also, I think it's going to bring a lot of work back to LA because they
Yeah.
want to like incentivize people to be here. A lot of like producers and stuff that lost their homes, like we're gonna see more like production work in Los Angeles, and I think the industry is really going to boom. So I think it's going to be, I think good things are going to happen.
All right, so for those of you who are only here for Desperate Housewives content, we are going to roll into the episode now. And we are picking up with season 3, episode 14, called I Remember That.
I was so happy to see Mike Delfino back on my screen. Like I was so like lethargic yesterday and then I saw Mike Delfino and I felt better. Also, I was cracking up at my old smash tweets I sent you when I was like, what was his name? I was like, why did the DiMaggio guy, whoever?
Oh, Will Chase?
Yeah, I
I
was
don't
like,
remember
why did
his
Joe
character.
DiMaggio look like Mile
My
Delfino?
Delfino. Oh, you were making typos even then.
Oh, I've been making typos since I got an iPhone. Like I think I just have big fingers. I don't know what it is, but I can't.
Big finger, small button.
The big finger, small button, like I don't care. Decipher it. Not my problem. I think I type and send. I don't look.
So, yeah, we have Mike being awake. He's getting some memories back. He's actually at a hypnotherapist. For a split second, when they did the little pan up to the hypnotherapist, hand to God, I thought it was Felicia Tillman. I got so confused.
Oh my God. I did
And
not
I was
notice
like,
that.
I don't remember that. But then I was like, no, it's just a woman with dark hair who looks slightly like Felicia. So he's with this hypnotherapist and he's getting his memories back and we kind of get a flashback of Monique and it's the night that he met her, he went to go fix her plumbing and she's trying to seduce him and he's not interested. But then he sees two gloved hands come up and he realizes that he didn't kill her.
And that's all it really takes for him. And I like that this is the like I think this makes sense that it would just be a random plumbing job that he just didn't think twice about. This is why we've never heard about it before because he was just like it was a normal day on the job. So then we get to Brie and I didn't realize we haven't covered any it's been so long.
Yeah.
We this is right after Orson rape. So she throws water on him and she goes, are you aware your ex-wife raped you last night? And he just goes, whoa. Like he's not phased at all. Like this is traumatic. And he's just like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, why are you not more astounded and terrified and upset?
So she's like, you need to go to the police and tell them. And he's like, I can't do that. And she goes, why not? And he's like, well, okay, I need to tell you about the night Monique died. So that's all it took. Then he is ready to tell her the truth. Also, you can see in this whole episode that Marsha Cross is so very pregnant based on all of the shots.
I didn't even think of that.
You didn't think of it in the very last, like, it's just crazy close up shots the whole time.
Oh,
Very obvious.
wow.
Yeah.
I forgot that she was pregnant.
It's pretty obvious. So yeah, take it away to Susan and Julie.
Yeah, we have Julie helping Susan pick out an outfit for Jane's funeral. And it's kind of a lighthearted scene, but Julie is kind of like, hey, isn't this kind of weird? And Susan's like, it's not weird. Ian wants me to be there. But I did notice that they had this like campy music start playing at a very strange moment in the scene. And it ended up being fine, but like it just felt weirdly out of place. I actually thought the music was coming from somewhere else, but then I was like, no, it's scoring the scene. It's just doing something a little funky. And then Susan picks out the most conservative, modest gray dress that she has, and it's probably the only thing in there that is adjacent to modest.
And the hat she was wearing was really like insane. I really hated it. So we get to Zach and Gabby shopping, and Gabby's freaking out because she's turning 31. And then she meets this man who doesn't realize this beautiful, gorgeous woman's flirting with him. And he's just like, oh, huh, okay. But then Gabby still likes him for some reason. And then we find out that he's on Zach's legal team.
Because you know what? Everybody in Fairview knows each other.
Yeah. But Zach is like, wow, that's so crazy. I have people working for me I don't even know.
Then we cut back to Bree and Orson, who are still in bed, and I'm like, hey, is it not like afternoon by now, because I know for a fact that Gabby and Zach are not shopping at Bed Bath and Beyond at like 10 a.m.
They simply could be. Cabby shops
But
at all hours.
true, but like, why would you meet up at like the early hours of the day with your friend Zach Young?
It is, well, maybe they got breakfast or something.
What do you think they would have for breakfast together?
I think they would go to Patty's, and which is canonically in Desperate Housewives. We'll see Mike there in a few seasons. And I think Gabby would get something off of the fitness menu,
Yeah, yeah.
and Zach would get the chocolate chip pancakes.
After your own heart.
Yeah, I think that's what they would get. And then they would go over to the coffee shop where later we're going to see the Fairview Strangler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so but Bree's upset that because now she knows the truth, but we don't know what it is yet. And she goes, "You need to exonerate Mike." Doesn't she should be calling Susan up at this point.
Yeah, I did giggle because Orson is like kind of so unserious. He goes, he has had a rough year. Talking about Mike. Like,
And like you hit him with the car. Like, as much as we love Mike Delfino, why are we also Orson defenders? Because he's been doing nothing but ruin Mike Delfino's year. It hasn't been Paul Young innocent.
listen, if we had to put these men in a ranking of who we defend the most, Paul Young is top spot, followed by Mike Delfino, followed by Orson Hodge.
Okay, that reminds me, how am I going to get to Mark Moses' show? But it's there until March. But then
Oh,
I have to come back in April to see Last 5 Years.
oh God.
So, like, this is my year of the Broadway.
This
And
is
I
my
need to see
year of
Redwood.
Los Angeles. Then Andrew comes out of his room and he overhears the conversation between Orson and Bree. And Orson comes out of the room and Andrew kind of like plays it off and he's like, "Oh, just wanted to see if you guys had, like wanted coffee or something." But he heard everything.
I love that Andrew is like mommy defense squad this episode.
Yes,
He's
I
like,
made
I
a note
love
about
my
that
mom. I
later.
love my mom.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Um, so then this is like a kind of a weird scene of the Scavos at the ice cream truck. I just felt like I didn't understand why or where it was going. But it's this whole thing. Lynette's like, "I told you no ice cream before dinner," and just didn't fit, like nothing. And then Edie comes up and she's like, "Hey, Tom, I need you to give Austin a job. He needs to get out of the house. He's just been whining about Julie Meyer dumping him." And Tom's like, "Okay, sure."
I feel like I was looking down when the ice cream scene was happening, but it's like if you needed a reason for Tom to be outside, he could have just been like watering the lawn or like kind of doing literally anything for Edie to
Yeah.
come up to him. Like Lynette and Porter, Peanut, Preston, like did not need to be in that scene.
Edie simply could have knocked on the door.
Yeah.
Like it just, I don't know why, but there's something about that moment that I was like, this is no rhyme or like nothing's forwarding, like nothing needs to be happening right now.
Well, there were a few like strange instances in this episode, and
Yeah.
we'll get there in a few minutes. We'll get there.
It was this episode had weird vibes to me.
Yeah.
It was just off. And did you feel the color was off?
Yeah, but again, we'll get there. I have several other notes addressing this exact situation.
Okay. Oh yeah, but she is like, "I'm going out with Luke."
I will say, going on a first date on your own birthday is like a strange move.
I think it's kind of sad because she is so like, she has such amazing friends. Like, why aren't you going out with your
Exactly.
friends? Like, she's so, everything I do is for the gays, but in the wrong way. Like, she could be this really cool gay icon, which she is, and just be a powerful woman hanging out with all her friends. But instead, she's like, I'm turning 31, which is so crazy. As I'm creeping up on my 29th birthday, I'm like, don't say this to me, Gabrielle. But she's like, I I'm getting old. Men aren't going to care about me anymore. And I'm like, that's so, girl, you got to rewire your brain a little bit because that's sad.
Then Orson goes over to Alma's, and his first line when he gets into the house, he sees Gloria and he goes, "Oh, the entire coven is here."
No, I started referring to them as the coven because it was so good.
That
And
is
he's
so funny.
basically like, oh wait, did this cut back and forth? Oh yeah, he's like, I'm going to the police. Like, you can't stop me. And Alma's like, but the baby. He goes, I don't care about the baby. It's like, how, what did, like, you rape this man to have a child. Why do you expect him to want the kid?
Right.
Also, does that work? Like, can that even happen?
What?
Like, what needs to happen for a child to be conceived? Can that happen if the man is like unconscious?
Yeah, because
Because
in
I know it can, obviously opposite, but like if he
there's
doesn't know,
there's one way to make a baby.
yeah.
And as
So his
long as
little shooters can still shoot if he's unconscious.
yeah, because she had also put like Viagra in his drink,
Right.
remember?
Yeah.
So as long as the body part is functional, I
Ugh.
mean, I guess it works. I'm sure this has happened in real life in
Yeah.
history somewhere.
Well, did you see that TikTok of, or it was their article about this girl like in France? She went in for a, like she went to go to the dentist, and the dentist raped her because she was like under anesthetics, and it was like an all male dental team, and then she found out because she was pregnant.
That is one of the most
Mhm.
horrifying things I've ever heard.
I know, new fear unlocked. I never thought about that.
Well, we can just never go to the dentist.
Well, or we could just make sure there's female dentists in there.
And then Orson says to Gloria that he faced his worst fear, which was like telling Bree the truth and having her break up with him, end the marriage. And he's like, well, it's not perfect. Like, she wants me to go to the police, but I faced my worst fear. And I was like, aw, Orsi.
Like he's really crazy and hit Mike with a car, but he does love her, so
He
that's
does.
nice. He treats Brie well, I guess.
Which is more than we can say for Rex.
True. Then Lynette is bullying Andrew to clean. She literally is like, clean the floors, twink. And he's
Lynette
like,
said, I want to see this place shine like the top of the Chrysler building.
the SVP in her popped off and she goes, would your mother think that these are clean floors? I want Brie Hodge clean floors. And Andrew's just like, oh my God. Um, then they're like talking about the trash and they see Austin smoking a blunt outside and he's like, Julie left me. I'm so upset. It's like, you cheated on her.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
expect?
And then Lynette, no hesitation, just fires Austin.
Period. And then Alma is like shocked that Orson hates her after Orson saying, I
Yeah.
hate you. I hate you. She goes, wait, Orson doesn't like me?
No, she is my Delulu queen. My
Yeah.
first note for this whole scene says, is Dixie Carter's hair a wig? And how is this the first time that I'm noticing it?
Dix, is that Gloria?
Yeah.
Very wiggy, yeah.
It was especially wiggy this scene. And it's
Very
the
wig.
first time that I actively, like consciously said, "Oh, that's a wig."
Yeah.
It's been the same
Um,
hair this entire time, but like first time I understood it to be
that's funny. I didn't really pay
artificial.
attention to it, but looking, it does look. Well, I think somebody of that age sometimes wears wigs, so it could just be canonically a wig. Um,
Somebody of that age.
yeah, somebody of that stature. So then, like, Alma's shocked and appalled, and then Gloria locks her in the attic. She's like, "You pregnant whore! If we burn, you burn with us." And then she locks her in the attic.
This is the beginning of the end, really.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Jane's funeral, and Susan is trying to lay low. So she walks in and she's like, "Oh, Ian, like, don't kiss me. I don't want anyone to, get the idea." And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do your Ian. I'm doing Christy
Okay.
doing Ian.
Okay.
I've been kissing people on the lips all day. Come over here. It'll look rather strange if I don't kiss you."
Ew. I didn't like that. Um, I just like didn't like Susan's behavior at this funeral. She was really annoying me. Um, and then I did you notice when she hears these women talk about she's like, "I'm gonna make Ian a big pot pie. I'm gonna make him dinner. I love this man." And Susan's watching them through a mirror, and it's literally just like a cut of a mirror and then a full like it's the scene.
My note says the shot in Susan's compact is crazy.
It really was something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what executive watched that and said, "Put that on TV."
That's what I mean by like there was something off about this whole episode.
Yes. It was so weird. It's like, why couldn't you just shoot it? Like, there are ways to shoot a scene, like a cut like that. So I was
But it
confused,
was
but
just fully happening in
mhm.
the mirror.
Yeah,
And like the concept is super cool, but it just
right.
looked absurd.
It just looked pretty bad. Um, and then there's one random shot of Mike and Carlos talking about he's innocent.
Yeah, and speaking of things looking really bad, why were they in front of the world's worst green screen?
Oh, I didn't notice.
You didn't?
I was eating a vegan chicken nugget. So
Christy. Oh, that sounds good.
I was like
Christy?
vegan chicken nugget in one hand, notes in the other, like trying to pay
Oh,
attention.
it was so obvious. And it just looked weird. And I don't know why they had to be there. I know, we have to see Orson come out because it's that foreshadowing of like talking about, oh, who killed Monique, and then Orson comes right
Yeah,
out. But it was like they so obviously, Carlos and Mike and then Orson were not in the same room.
weird. I'm
It
gonna
was
have to watch it
so
again.
go back and watch that
Yeah.
scene. I want your thoughts on it because it's jarring.
It probably was like the way that these things are filmed are so fast, so maybe they just didn't get what they needed or something, so they had to like maybe the set that they needed was dressed for something else, so they had to do it really quick because it was like a 30-second scene.
Yeah, it
And
was it was almost not needed.
no, it was very strange, but maybe they needed something that like bridged Orson finding out. I don't know, but I didn't notice that. That's funny. Because it just Mike and Carlos just all of a sudden talk. Like it was weird. Didn't like it.
And that's also the only time Carlos is in the whole episode. So
Right.
he got paid for that.
Right. Oh yeah, maybe because maybe they had filmed this at like a later date with when Carlos was in the episode. I don't know. But
It's
yeah, I didn't
also
notice.
like it's the same thing to me as in the beginning with the ice cream truck. It's like why would you have the
Hmm.
child on set that
Yes.
you have to pay? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't
Hmm.
make sense to me.
Get a studio teacher when it was really not needed.
Okay, just watch the episode It's Days Later. I mean the green screen scene. The green screen's not that bad, but and I've like in the 18,000 times I've watched this show, but I think what makes it weird is like since you pointed it out, I'm literally watching it live, is like they're only facing one way. Again, Ricardo Chavira was not in the episode. Then they cut to Orson. It's actually, I think, pretty good green screen. It's just like obvious because of the shot because it's like just the two of them with Orson directly behind them, which is kind of strange. Wait, I'm like rewinding it once again. I'm really analyzing this. Yeah, like it's actually like not as horrendous.
Okay, Christy of the present. This is Summer of the present. I feel like when I said world's worst green screen, I should have actually said world's most noticeable green screen. Like, I didn't mean that the quality was so terrible, but more just that, like, it was incredibly jarring and, like, I don't even want to say uncanny because that's not quite the right word, but something like adjacent to uncanny. Like, it was just so obvious and blatant, and it kind of like pulled me out for a second.
Then we're back at the funeral, and Susan is listening to that lady talk about, she's like, I love Ian. Oh my God. Like, he has been so lonely. I'm gonna get him. And then Susan's like, you're being really inappropriate. Like, you need to stop. And I think, again, she could have just listened and giggled because she knows she's with this man. But no, instead, she had to assert her dominance and say, I'm dating Ian.
Unfortunately, I would have done the same thing.
I know you would have, but she couldn't have just like been in that moment, been like,
No, no. See, like people with brains like me and Susan, um,
yeah,
we don't do that. Like we
no,
can't. We have to make it clear that our thing is our thing. I think it's
yeah.
like I don't know if Susan is canonically a Libra, but she does give Libra.
I don't think it's Libra. I think it's anxious attachment.
Anyway, moving on. Okay, then we are at Scavo's Pizzeria where Tom is giving out tax forms. Um, I don't mean to harp on like the little things or nitpick, but nobody has started working yet. And why is he giving out W-2s when nobody has made any money?
Summer, you have to sign tax forms in order to start a job.
What?
Have you never signed an I-9,
I've done an I-9, but like for instance,
W-4?
yeah,
So
but
to legally work, you need an I-9 and a W-4. Have you never paid taxes?
okay, I'm stating for the record for anybody who works in the United States government, I have been paying taxes since I began working at age 21. Um,
Hmm. So Tom Scavo is running a legal business. So that's why he's handing out tax forms.
Lynette is shocked to see Austin there because Tom gave him his job back. And Lynette's none too happy about that.
And she takes Tom, and Tom like takes Lynette in the back actually, and she's yelling at him, and he goes, "You cannot boss me around in my restaurant," which is all on Lynette's dime, but whatever. And he basically was like, "You should have talked to me first because Austin," he goes, "I didn't realize it till someone else told me, but Austin's hot." And and he goes, "Yeah, he's hot. And he's gonna bring in all the girls and
The
half of the boys'
girls.
choir."
I giggled when Tom said, you know, he's like trying to make it clear that this is his dominion, and he's like,
Hmm.
at home, I check my balls at the door. I was like,
Dude, I didn't
oh,
even catch that because again, I was chicken nugget in hand.
yeah, and he goes, and here I need you to check yours. And I was like, that is so crass.
Like, that's kind of funny though. That's equal partnership.
It's hilarious, but it was just
Yeah.
like so out of left field. I was not expecting Tom to say, I check my balls at the door. And you know, my little problem with this situation is that it's always the same
Yeah.
like marriage problem they have in
Yeah.
a different setting.
Yeah, I was thinking that because it's like every episode he's either upset because of his lack of masculinity or he's okay with it, but just wants it done differently. So yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same fight over and over again. But I feel like that kind of leads to their little issue in like season 8 because it is the same fight over and over and over. I can't believe we can finally sing it on the pod, guys. I saw Mufasa in June, and the only thing I took from it was I always wanted a brother. And then I taught. I didn't teach it to Summer. Um, Legally speaking, I did not say anything, but it had been stuck in my head for 6 months. So I was so happy when it finally came out so the world can hear. I always wanted a brother. Best original song in my heart. I think that should have been nominated over the crazy Amelia Perez songs, but whatever.
I have such crazy one-sided beef with Emilia Perez, and I know everybody else does too.
Yeah,
I can't even get into it, but it like makes me so, so, so angry.
it's a bit bizarre. It is. And it's like, how are you gonna like actually I did listen oh my God, excuse me. I did,
May I reenact that? I did listen to the oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
I was short of breath. Um, but I did listen to the two songs that were nominated, and I they were not bad. Like they were better than like the oh the from penis to vagina song that was going around. Like, what is the surgery you asked for? Is it for you? No, not for me. Okay, it's not for you. Who's it for then? Like it wasn't that song. It was just like the songs were actually like I was like, okay, this is catchy catch. Still think that there were much better work out there to be nominated. Oh, like what's the problem? Also, I think it's really crazy that they didn't nominate John M. Chu at all.
I know.
Like, how are you going to nominate the actors and Best Picture when that's all good? Yeah, yes, that was amazing performances, but the director is the movie. So, especially both leads. It's one thing if it's like just one outstanding performance, but how do you nominate both leads and the movie and not the director?
Yeah, it doesn't. I really like don't know who in the Academy has such vitriol against John M. Chu, but like he's
Yeah.
such a visionary. We're gonna start an awards show called the Chewies, and they're
Why the
all
Chewies?
named after
Where'd
John
that
M.
come from?
Chu.
Oh, okay, okay. I was thinking of Chewy like the delivery service for pets.
Oh, um, yeah, we'll spell it however you want, but
Okay.
the Chewies are going to nominate John M. Chu in every category for every movie, whether he's worked on it or not.
Yes, and we perform every song, whether he directed or not.
So, guys, if you want to get your tickets to the Chewy Awards, please DM us.
Also, guys, again, like I have a lot of clarity now that I'm not on TikTok. So I was thinking Summer and I are gonna put together a cabaret show in Los Angeles. So keep that in mind. Keep your calendars
Please come, please
open.
come, please come,
Please
please come.
come. Like we're gonna perform all your favorites from Wicked, Smash. Um,
Anything that we have expressed as a niche interest, we are
we
going to
will be
perform.
performing it. So get your tickets eventually. Yeah, get your tickets eventually. But just like save the date when we have one because live shows will be coming. Gabby and Luke are at dinner on her birthday. Again, all of her friends, nobody else has acknowledged it's Gabby's birthday. So maybe like I'm a little weirded out. Like, why has nobody been like, hey, Gabby, happy birthday? All your friends are on your street.
Yeah. And I'm sure they all know your birthday.
Yes. So nobody's acknowledging her birthday. And so she's with Luke, who doesn't understand social cues and does not understand her flirting at all, but she's still interested in him again for some reason. I don't understand because his personality is not good. And looks can only take you so far. So I'm baffled. And
I'm
then
baffled.
and then a man comes to the house, and it's his coworker, and he brings in paperwork, and it's from Zach that says, "Leave Gabby's house, and don't make it obvious. If you sleep with her, you're fired."
Then we go back to Jane's funeral where the evil lady gets up to speak. Her name is Lynn Dean, and she outs Susan as Ian's lover.
She also had said that she's Jane's sorority sister. I was like, so you, as her sorority sister, you've just been like eyes on the prize the whole time. In
You've
fact,
been lusting after your late sorority sister's husband.
So, how did Jane get in the coma? Because I think this lady had something to do with it. I want to know her story. Like maybe they were in the car together. Like I don't know. Did this lady hit her with a car because something is amok here?
Back at Gabby's, the what's his name? Luke, the guy. I just keep writing the guy. Luke is looking for any way to get out of there because now he's terrified of Zach and his threat. And he ends up saying, "You're too old for me," because Zach tells him to say it. And of course, that breaks Gabby's heart because it's her main insecurity right now.
And he goes, "Oh, I only date women in my 20s." Again, Gabby, that should have given you the ick anyway because he looks 40. So for like a 40-year-old to say, "I only date women in my 20s," that's weird. So yeah, but again, she takes it personally. So then Zach comes over acting completely innocent, and she is drunk, drunk, drunk. Okay, so then there's a scene of Bree climbing the ladder. This was the crazy scene that I said that how like it's
Yeah.
very obvious that she's pregnant because the shots are insane.
Yeah. Why was she climbing up the ladder?
Because she saw the little bag and for some reason was like, "Oh, what's that?" So she climbs the ladder to see and then she fell.
That was not necessary. But we did learn, I don't know if you already knew this, but their address, the Vanda Hodge residence is 4354 Wisteria Lane.
Whoa. That can be a song in our musical.
4354 Wisteria
4354.
Lane. From penis to vagina.
And then he goes to the hospital, and you know what? The reason why Bree and Orson were in bed so long is probably because it was just easier to have Marcia Cross laying in the bed.
Yes.
So they were like, whatever, we'll just have her in bed all day. So then the nurse says she had a slight concussion. We don't see Bree and after this. And then Andrew goes to the nurse and says Orson is dangerous. Do not trust him. Do not have him anywhere near his mom.
I love seeing him defend Brie like
Me
this.
too. Me
Even though
too. I
he's not
love it.
right. Like, it's sweet.
Still, he's like finally like being nice and protective over his mom.
Yeah, after everything they've been through.
So then we get to Gabby being drunk, and Zach brings her a mug that
It
says
says world's
"World's
greatest
best
friend.
friend."
Ian finds Susan hiding in the embalming room. She's sobbing. She feels so guilty for ruining Jane's funeral.
I thought this was a nice scene. Ian was being really nice to her. And then he proposes to her a little bit in this crazy room with dead people around. I just think, like, maybe don't propose at your wife's funeral.
Yeah, it's a little tacky.
Yeah, like maybe that's not even something you should have been thinking about.
Yeah, it's a little tacky.
So I thought that was a little crazy. And then Mike is back at the hypnotherapist and he sees Orson in his vision. And basically, he comes back from the job and Orson's cleaning up and he goes, "Oh, Monique didn't feel well. She went to bed. I'll do the plumbing. I know what to do." Orson Hodge does not look like the type of man who can do plumbing. Um,
Orson Hodge has
and
never had dirt under his fingernails.
never once. And then he hands Mike the wrench. So Mike had left his wrench at Monique's, and he didn't notice it had dried blood on it, because why would he? And so then he wakes up from his vision, and he storms out of the therapist's office, and he's like, "I need to find Orson Hodge. Where's Orson Hodge?" And then he goes to what?
So I have to interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
When I was watching this scene today, I was struck with the memory of watching it when it aired.
Oh,
And
really?
the absolute shock. Like I knew it was Orson obviously watching it this time,
Yeah.
but I remember watching it with my mom and when the hands come up and then you see Orson pop up,
Mm-hmm.
my jaw dropped.
Wow.
And like being like 9 or 10 watching this, I was beyond shook. If you ever talk to Liz about, you know how like when you're a kid you have stupid little inside jokes with your friends?
Yeah. When you're a kid and you have stupid little inside jokes with your friends, you mean friendship?
No, but what I'm saying is like we created a meme for ourselves where
Yeah.
like Orson would just pop out of random things. So we would
Yeah.
sometimes just be like, Orson popped out of a cup. Orson popped out of a box. Orson popped out of like, and we would just say it at random times and always change
Yeah.
the thing that he popped out of. But it was
Right.
this was the origin of it because he like pops up from the counter.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and if you ever talk to Liz and you say something like Orson popped out of a cup, she will lose her mind.
I'm gonna text her that right now.
Please do.
Okay, yeah. So then Mike goes to find Orson, and first he goes to the Vanderhood residence, and Danielle opens the door, and he goes, "Where's Orson?" And she goes, "You didn't hear? Mom fell off a ladder. They're in the hospital." So he just like doesn't say anything, and he just goes,
He barks.
bark, 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 and then he goes to the hospital, and in the interim, Andrew and Orson kind of got into it, and Andrew's like, "I don't trust you. I don't trust you," and so he's like, "You gotta leave." I think that happened, yes. And then Orson is in the parking garage,
Which is
leaving. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely made that scene up. The nurse went to Orson and said, "It's just a slight concussion. She's sleeping. You can go home." Andrew had nothing to do with it. I just made up a scene. I'm
oh
sorry.
right.
I'm sorry. We have integrity on this podcast. We don't like to lie.
We never
I,
make anything up.
we never make anything up. I am so sorry. I just completely made up a scene. That is not the integrity of the We're Going to Tell podcast. Deepest apologies. The nurse says you can go home. So then Orson goes into the parking garage, and it's actually a really insane scene because Mike just storms in and goes, "Orson, I know what you did." And then Orson like jumps on a car and starts jumping between the cars.
And when you remember that this is most certainly the Universal Studios parking garage, it makes it
Oh, it
that
probably
much
is.
funnier. It
Wait, I
it
have.
definitely is.
You think?
Oh,
Okay, I'm
it
gonna have to
has to
watch.
be.
But
It
yeah,
looks
he's
so
like
familiar.
well, it's a all parking garages kind of look the same.
But the fact that like it's shot at Universal, like what are
I
the
just like this scene of Orson flying through the air, jumping on the cars, and then Mike gets to him, beats him up. Orson like his one line of defense is hitting somebody with a car. Like he cannot throw a punch.
yeah, yeah.
So he's kind of just like going like that, and then Mike shoves him, and he falls, and then the scene cuts, and it says to be
To be
continued.
continued.
It's really
Oof.
insane. Crazy stuff. And it's like,
Okay.
Mike, you literally are off scot-free for not killing somebody now, and you throw somebody over a parking garage. So it's not good
Yeah,
for
like
Mike Delfino.
let's think about this.
You don't do that. That's not, you could have just left it alone. They would have figured it out. But, oh well. And that's our episode.
That is our episode.
Yeah. Well, we will be back next week, I promise. I am mic'd. I have my laptop. That was another thing, Desperate Housewives superfans. I usually travel with my personal laptop as well as my work laptop, and this was the first time I didn't. So that was fun for me. Um, Blanche, are you such a little cute, precious baby?
She says she is.
She's so cute. Okay, guys, until next time, this has been We Know What You Did.
It makes us sick.
We're
Going
going
to
to
tell.
tell.
And
And
y'all
y'all
come
come
back
back now.
now. Y'all
Yeah.
hater.
Oh, the Redditors will probably like that we didn't say the intro.